Hey folks, welcome to the BeyondTheBaselines.com podcast. I'm Ed Shanafi, I'm your host, and I'm here today with Robyn Duda, who is setting up the first year of setting up RacquetX, which is going to be the Racket Sports Conference, inconceivable to most people, in Miami. Welcome here, Robyn. Great to have you here.
Oh, it's great to be here. Thank you so much.
So, March 24th, 26th, you've set the dates. It's at the Miami Beach Convention Center, South Beach. I can't wait to go.
Yeah.
What look, I've seen a golf club in your hand. What guy? I know you went to the Masters. I've done a little research. Uh,
Yeah. I gotta
do you
remember my
play?
Instagram private. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Do you play tennis? Do you play a racket sport? What got you into the racket sport industry? What
Yeah,
happened
it's
there?
it's twofold. I've been an athlete my whole life. Not in racket sports. I was a basketball player, and amongst other things. But my lifelong sport was basketball. But like I said, I've been an athlete, especially in post college days. I dabble in racket sports. I have played. I've taken numerous tennis lessons, to which I am not the greatest. Certainly, pickleball is an easy one that we can play anywhere, and I do that when I can. I am not aiming to be a pro by any means. It's not a desire of mine. I do enjoy playing. I love being outside. And then padel, however we want to say it here. Everyone says it a little bit differently. I use paddle. If there were, I love it. And if there were a club in Atlanta, I would be playing all the time. But when I'm in Miami for work, I'm playing when I'm there.
Well, I think you'll have a club in Miami, a club in Atlanta soon. With the way you're working on RacquetX.
Yeah.
Um, so you bring up a great point with pickleball. So RacquetX, I guess, is going to encompass all the racket sports.
Including
Um,
squash and table tennis and pop tennis will be there, and racquetball will be there. We're going to try and
Fantastic.
represent as much as we possibly can while still doing a good job to service those different sports.
So everyone talks about pickleball and padel. I think, and you say paddle, I say padel because to me paddle is up in New England and Chicago, and it's that
Paddle tennis.
paddle tennis, platform tennis, whatever you want to call it. I grew up calling it paddle.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is that you've jumped on a wave here, which is fantastic because pickleball is being played by so many people. Because as you say, it's easy to start. The learning curve is easier. So tell us why you got behind RacquetX, because what your specialty is setting up these kinds of conferences, is doing these big convention center get-togethers. Why did you pick rackets, and why did you pick the industry?
Well, so to full transparency, I have co-founder, and there's an investment team behind this who are racket sport centric, lovers, enthusiasts, and now investors in the space. So they came to me as somebody. I've been in the event industry for 20 years. I've done a little bit of everything. I've had my own firm for six, going on 6 years. And I'm a launcher, I'm a fixer, but it all comes down to its core of what I love is figuring out what makes an industry and people tick, and then figuring out how you design something to service their problems, their challenges, their needs, and then give them what they didn't know they needed, in as magical a way as possible. And when they approached me with this opportunity in racket sports, obviously, like I said, I've been an athlete. I've been following along with, I'm a spectator. I've watched, and I just thought that this was such a fun space to be able to do what I love doing the most in, for both a business audience and a consumer audience. It's a challenge to be able to take cross-generational, because that's what this industry is on the both the business and the consumer side, and be able to create an ecosystem in a space that fuels everyone's growth, regardless of what your objective is, was just, I think, a really interesting challenge in a fun, exciting, culturally relevant space.
That's a great point, because what you're saying there is that you're looking at both business to business or racket to clubs. I mean, I specialize in the club side, right? But you're saying it's rackets to clubs, and it's also rackets to consumers. And the consumer side is huge. It's
The more
massive.
people that are demanding, I mean, the way we look at it is rising tides lift all ships. And if we are the home of all racket sports and creating this ecosystem, if you have a racket in one hand, you might have a paddle in another, or you likely do, or you can. And for the consumer side of this, it's so exciting because paddle, however we can argue to say it.
Decide how it's talked
We can
about.
decide
Yeah.
that later, flip a coin. It hasn't, it's just making its way here. And maybe there's somebody who's been playing pickleball that comes to RacquetX and they want to see an exhibition and they want to take a clinic on the floor, see the latest technologies that they can bring, that are on their phone that they can use to up their game. They may say, oh, there's a 101 padel thing. Let me take a look at this. That looks really fun. Let me get on the court. And then that might spark, it's sparking interest in all the different areas. And I don't think there's a bad, I think if the industry is growing, the entire industry is growing, and there's a place for everyone to play.
Yeah, that's a great point, because if you think about it, there's like tennis I mean, I'm looking from the tennis point and golf point. There's tennis congress, which brings these people from all over the country to play with certain pros in Atlanta. Actually, I think it was in Atlanta that started. But there's never been a racket that combines, all rackets first, all rackets, and that combines the B2B to the B2C crowd. I mean, it's going to be interesting. If I go there, I'm going to be meeting my members, which is going to be interesting, So
So many folks. I mean, there's two points that I want to make here. One is that so many of the business side, and that's how this started. It was like, this is going to be a business to business event solely. And then we decided to launch in Miami, and we have a collaboration and a joint ticket sale with the Miami Open from a fan standpoint. And we spoke to the industry, and they said, we want consumers there too if we're coming. And what I thought was so fun is that very rarely have I in my career been able to have a business event where the folks are also enthusiasts, fans, and consumers of a lot of what they're representing. In a chemical conference, sure, we all eat chemicals, but I wouldn't say that we're enthusiasts of chemicals. So we're able to create a even more special, fun environment for both sides, because we can leverage that. And I think I had a second point, but from a conference standpoint, there's the experiential show floor side of this, but
right.
then conference wise, I mean, that is a little bit more B2B centric for sure. But it's getting those folks to really think about growth. And I think our mission, we'd be doing it such a big disservice if we weren't helping the industry think about what they need to think about next to continue to grow. And what are case studies both from the industry? How can we learn from each other, from squash to racquetball to pickleball to tennis to padel, to what are other sports, case studies in other industries of how they've gone through similar challenges or similar things, and how do we learn from that? And I think that's where a lot of this magic lies, in this unity of, we can all listen to fanatics and think about the future, the fan of the future of some of this stuff, and everyone can sit in that crowd and listen to it and take something away from it.
So, my experience, I'm going to go back to when I lived in London for 20 years. I talked to you about this previously in an email, but I dealt with Reed Meadem, and I want to know the back end, to take away from the paddle and or padel or tennis and the ping pong. Is how do you, and you're a fantastic businesswoman, how do you find, I'm going to just explain this to people listening on the podcast. I would get an invitation, because I was an advertising record company industry executive. I get an invitation to the Cannes Film Festival. I get an invitation to Meadem, which was the music festival in Cannes. How do you find A, the sponsorship, and B, I mean, don't give any trade secrets away here, but the mailing list to get people to go to a brand new conference in Miami? Obviously that helps, but where do you start and how do you do that? Because that boggles my mind.
It's not
exactly.
easy. It's not
Tell
easy.
me how you do it.
There's art and science and luck and prayer. It's a multi-channel approach, I believe. When you're launching, you need to throw a lot of things at the wall and see what sticks. And all of them might kind of stick and get you to the right place. I believe that if we're selling, the idea of experience, that has to be evident from the beginning. And if you're going to come and listen to a show, like we want clubs to come and hear what's happening and learn from that, we damn well better walk the walk and talk the talk to sell that concept beforehand. So we can get all the lists and you can get all the leads you want. You can buy lists, you can do all that stuff, and that's fine. But to me, it's how do we prove that we can do this? And we've come out with, last week, we released our first trend report, and it'll be one of 5.
Yeah, fantastic.
Thank you. It's like 40 plus pages of past, present, and future, covering in-depth 6 of the racket sports, and then of course mentioning a whole host of others. And then, you know, we have that gated, you know, so that we, you know, you to download it to get it. And we push that in the media. We push that in social media. We push that through PR and communications. We do build lists. We try to build them a little more organically through not just buying lists, but making sure that there's something rather than just buy this ticket. Believe me, when we're trying to get audiences, it's here's what we're all about. Hopefully you want to come along for the ride with us. And we're going to keep you posted. And the next one is going to be around fashion, you know, and trends. And, you know, the next one after that is DEIB and diversity.
What kind of fashion? What kind of fashion?
Racket fashion. Racket
really?
Sport. Yeah, tennis core is a huge trend on TikTok. So it's, you know, we're not just, this isn't just, I mean, clubs obviously are a huge component of this, but you all have pro shops too, you know, at your clubs. And, you know, what's some of the new cool you know, apparel that's out there that you can be selling that maybe is really D2C right now. Those brands want to get into stores or into more retail, mainstream retail. And of course you want to, you know, clubs want to set themselves apart with whatever's the coolest stuff that's going to get people to come in. So, so proving that through content, making sure that we're using the right channels to market it is a big piece of where I think that lies. And then we form a lot of partnerships too. You know, we're partnered with you know, associations in almost every racket sport that exists. A lot of the professional organizations as well, where we have, you know, trade secret. It's, you know, we have partnerships where we give and take, and a lot of that has to do with marketing, you know, of them making sure that we're in front of their audience and what we have to offer and what kind of content we're putting on. So it's not just coming to the show floor, the content, and what is the content that's relevant to you. And I firmly believe that personalization is a big part of that. So not just like, hey, we're doing this big thing and everybody's welcome and there's going to be stuff for everyone, but go look at the site and figure it out for yourself, which is the way I think a lot of, you know, places have done that in the past, and that might have worked. I think that I want you to tell me why should I spend my time and my money and my energy to come down to you? And we have to make that really compelling through, I think, content and experiences and making that explicit. So we're working really hard on making sure our, what we would call persona development. So as we're marketing this stuff, plus there's all the, like, you know, Google, you know, your ads and all the other stuff.
So you advertise and you figure out your audience, your demographic, which isn't easy, because this if you're looking at the consumers, it's a huge, across 6 racket sports, it's a huge demographic.
Yeah. Plus we have, plus you have your clubs, you have real estate developers, you have investors, we have
HOAs,
parks and HOAs, parks and rec, and campuses. So they're all have different challenges, problems, and needs. And so how do we create this? I don't know if you're familiar with South by Southwest, the event.
I'm not. Please tell me. Please inform me.
It's in Austin. It's been going on for years. It's this where it's business, it's consumer, it's media, it's movie launches, it's music concerts. It's this culmination of future thinking leaders in multiple industries, but they come together to figure out how to learn from each other. And I think we're kind of trying to do that on a racket sport level, where we're bringing in what we believe will be some of the best minds inside the industry and out to try and help and continue that growth.
I've had Butch Buchholz, who founded the Miami Open, on the podcast. He's a fantastic guy. Yeah, he was one of my most favorite guests. He brought me down, you know, the history, the what do you call that? The old road. I can't remember the expression, but he talked about how the Miami Open was founded and Key Biscayne, and how it started as a small tournament. And then I worked it as a chair umpire back in the days when it was the Lipton. Yeah, as the Lipton. why did you pick Miami? Because I think I have a feeling I know your answer, but I think it's a wonderful choice. Why did you choose it?
Yeah, a couple reasons. One, if we're looking to do all racket sports, Miami is certainly at the forefront of padel right now. Um,
Exactly. Yep.
as well as, you know, there's tons of tennis clubs, racket clubs, golf clubs, etc. And it's the highest Florida has the highest concentration for sure. Um, being able to do this during the Miami Open, and having a collaboration on a joint ticket sale with them. So there will be Monday night's going to be RacquetX night at the Open. Both Miami Open and us have, like I said, a joint collaborative agreement where we're selling each other's tickets to this,
Wow.
which is great. Yeah. Just finalizing the details will be on the site, hopefully any day now, once we get that set up. But the opportunity at a certainly discounted rate to be able to come in and enjoy both experiences, which are very, very different. We think is we thought that was just when you're launching, you have to put every odd you can get in your favor. You need to put in your favor, and the more things I think our desire is to create, this global racket week or America's racket week, at least, with the Miami Open there, a pickleball tournament and getting a padel tournament and hopefully others. But if we can accomplish that, I think we're really onto something of celebrating this on such a bigger scale than just individually.
You make a great point, because one of my past podcast guests mentioned the fact that he thinks that, and I think you're onto the same point here, is that in times to come, one of the big tournaments, whether it's Miami Open, whether it's Indian Wales, whether it's New York US Open, is going to have a pickle padel part. So you're going to have the US Open padel, or the US Open pickle, or the US Open ping pong, or whatever whatever you say, at the Flushing Meadows or at the Miami Open. So I think you're onto something here, and I think this is not the first time I've heard it, and I think it's a wonderful idea to put it all together in 1 week.
Yeah, and I
Or 2
think
weeks,
if
1
we
week.
can be the unifier, because
Mhm.
everyone, tennis is in their lane and pickleball's in their lane. Everyone has their own, things that they're trying to achieve right now. And I think if we can put ourselves as the Switzerland, or the neutral place that kind of is here to help unify, but continue that growth on both a celebratory and a functional business level. Hopefully, we can make that happen a lot faster. I mean, that's our goal. I think we're going to get really close, if not get there this year. So more to come on some hopeful announcements on that front.
Well, don't get nervous. I'm going to ask you a very personal question.
Oh boy.
Um, but hey, I know you went to the National Golf Club Augusta. I know you went to the Masters, right?
Mhm.
So if you were going to take one personal thing away from that and put it into the conference that you're planning,
Um,
RacquetX, because Augusta is probably probably the biggest sporting event in the world. One of the biggest. I'm going to say is World Cup soccer, rugby now going on. Huge. It's a huge event. People, I don't know if people understand. What would you take away from your week
oh,
at Augusta and bring to RacquetX?
I took so much, especially from I mean, I'm in events, but experience is really where I drive to. I took so many things away. I think that probably very simple. There's a couple of very simple things. And I think that's what I love about Augusta. I've been to events that really try and outdo and go over the top, and create experience for the sake of experience. It's a little bit of a pet peeve of mine. I get that it works. And I don't, that's great for them. For me, there's a simplicity to design that I think is beautiful. Navigation. I have never not been to an event where there was no signage. However, I knew exactly where to go. There were people at every turn that if you were looking someplace, somebody was there to say, what are you looking for? Your restroom down this way. But you weren't overly cluttered with this like signage everywhere, and it was, to me, it was so noticeable that like I can navigate to anything. Your experience depends on how well you can find things. And I have this, almost trademarked, theory called the anatomy of experience. And we all want to get to engagement, right? We want to connect. We
Right.
want to engage with a brand. That's what we all want to do. But if you can't navigate, if your navigation sucks, you don't get there. You don't get from point, if you can't get from point A to point B, you become frustrated. You start to get detractors. You get people who are, who are angry, me included. And the fact that there were some signs, but they were street signs, but there were people everywhere directing things in the easiest way possible. It was like, to me, I was just like, wow, this is a lesson in simplicity, and how people can help people, as opposed to trying to find the thing. Tradition, I think, I love that you can't take phones in, yet it is so shareable, and the virality among the masters, amongst what's happening, is incredible, but yet no one on site can use a phone. You can even bring
You
a
don't
phone.
need one. It's viral already. I mean, it's all over.
But I loved that everyone was present. Like, that was what my big takeaway
Beautiful
was.
point.
Everyone there was present. And I think that is what created a beauty of community, of you acknowledging your neighbor next to you, sitting next to you, on the lawn, setting up your chairs. There's just this sense of community that I think, having a screen in front of us and taking pictures, I think it takes away from that beauty of the experience, where you're all watching the same thing instead of everyone watching something different. And I thought that was incredible. I wish that I wish in a business, it's impossible, but to me, it was just, that was amazing. And then I had those are the two that were just, to me, because of, I think, the nature of what I do. But the store, the
merch.
experience of
The
merch. I've never seen lines like that for just the merch, but also to get my pimento cheese sandwich and my peach. I didn't even get my peach ice cream sandwich. They were out by like 10 a.m. But I love that they keep the prices. I love that it doesn't cost you. Yes, if you're going to buy a ticket on the market, it's going to cost you thousands of dollars to go, but that it's a lottery system and it's fair to come. And it's not just because I think, and that everything there is, the prices don't really get raised. I think that that's just a very cool, a cool concept in loyalty, lesson in loyalty, and that experience can drive massive loyalty and profits without price gouging people.
Beautifully said. First of all my parties coming forward at my house. When you come to the house, you put your phone in a basket. I'm done with phones at the parties.
Yep.
And I actually think clubs should take, and I'm the private members club business. We have lessened the rules. We now we can text on property. Originally, it was no real phones on property.
Yeah.
And I've been forced as a head pro to take a phone off a member. I like that. I think we should involve each other face to face rather than have a screen between us. I think it's a wonderful, wonderful thought you had there. Secondly, you think about it, Wimbledon, as you said about the Masters, Wimbledon doesn't price gouge either, really. I mean, they have those debentures, but really you can get online and walk in there for a very reasonable price. If you stand online, you can go and see the greatest players of all time.
I think that there's something to be said about being accessible to the mass, to people who are interested in the thing that you're doing. And I think, and I could go on and on about this, about fairness, and I get businesses who want to make money. I mean, we're a for-profit, but like, I think it is, and I'm trying to make sure that if you're trying to create an ecosystem in a community, everyone, there should be an opportunity for everyone to be able to come. And small businesses for us, from our sponsors, there are opportunities for emerging brands, and there are, much more inexpensive versions for startups, because if we're not getting the latest and greatest and we're only partnering with people who have big dollars, it skews, we're not creating a completely, equal ecosystem. We're just catering to the people who have the money. And I think that skews of what growth can look like. So I think there's something really, really special about maintaining the accessibility of people to be able to participate.
Finally, is when you look at merch, you brought merch up, so I'm going to bring it back into the conversation here. When you're doing a show like this, RacquetX, are you looking at merch as a profit center? And I know this is a tough question for you. Are you looking at it as a profit center, or are you looking at it as a future marketing tool? How do you look at it?
I look at it as a future marketing tool. I think, sure, we can make, we're not going to get rich off of selling merch. I think that it is a fun way to increase our exposure. And I think if we can partner with, if we can come up with limited edition stuff that drives demand of people wanting it, and if it looks really interesting and cool, or we partner with cool brands to help make it come to life, and not even cool, traditional brands too. I think if it, I think your name out there, people wearing it is the best, one of the best marketing tools you can have. We were at the Open, and anecdotally, we have RacquetX hats, which I should have worn to this, but I actually was having an okay hair day. So we have RacquetX hats and shirts, but I had the hat on the Open the whole time, the week that we were there. And how many people just like sitting and eating came up to me and were like, what's RacquetX? What's RacquetX? Like just unsolicited comments. It wasn't like it said anything other than that, but they're just like, what's RacquetX? You know, and got into amazing conversations. And it's another way to connect with people. It was, a tennis pro at a club, and, and it just, it's evangelists. It's folks who are proud to wear it. And I think that for me, it's certainly branding. And if you can make a couple of dollars doing it, that's great. But for us, it's about branding for sure.
I wish
fun
clubs
of designing it.
Yeah, the fun is that's the fun is where do you put the logo,
How do you do it? Or what's the funny set? Like, what's the cool? I mean, I just think there's some really interesting up and coming brands that are making, the racket sport wear, golf wear. I kind of wear both things. They're making, I mean, there's some really like interesting, beautiful, nice, clean things out there that just look different, that you want to wear in your everyday life, not just playing.
Well, first of all, I'm going to say something. I was watching tennis, I don't know, a few months ago, and there's this woman tennis player, pro player, wearing this great old-fashioned kind of skirt.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked her up, and it was her own clothing brand. Hello, there you go. Greatest way you can brand yourself is wear your own clothes, right? And yeah. I'm looking at my buoy in the background, number 11, and that's one of the Williams sisters have their 11.
11, yeah.
Yeah. But also, I wish that the clubs would listen to you, because clubs on my side, they shy away from retail a lot, but it's the best way to brand for new membership. And we're a business, and you at RacquetX are a business. And you just said, I'm a for-profit, folks. I'm gonna, I don't shy away from making some money, but I'm going to design some good merch so that people come back next year or come back as a new person, member.
The team that we've built wants to kill me half of the time. I'm really designed forward. I was really particular about how we went forward with our look and feel. It was not happenstance. We're trying to cross-generationally draw both consumers and businesses in. It can't look too businessy and boring. It can't look too fun and cool, because then it was treading a very fine line. And I think that we can have a lot of fun with merch, and I think clubs can too. I know, whenever I go someplace, or my father and my brother are diehard golfers, they buy something from every club they go to. And I think I've seen my brother, who's younger, obviously, than my father. My dad is always the emblem, Peter Millar or whatever, kind of, the usual suspects.
Peter Millar.
And my brother's looking for like, what's the cool thing that is going to be, a conversation piece when he goes out with his buddies back at his club.
Well, I've always said to clubs that I work with, yacht clubs have it right, because you cannot purchase as a non-member a burgee, an unadulterated burgee is what they call it. And the little diagonal flag, it's called a burgee. You can't wear that. You can't buy it if you're not a member. It's the most sought after. As an employee, I was harassed by non-members to get them clothing at the club that I worked at, the yacht club. The logo, the branding is so important. And I think RacquetX, you're right on it. And I think, if you look at some of the biggest tournaments in the world, I mean, Wimbledon, their branding is fantastic. The championships, no one's even talked about it. US Open's the championships, but no, Wimbledon is the championships.
Yeah. So we're hoping to create some good looking stuff.
Let me ask you, the final question I'm going to ask you is your first year is this year at RacquetX. It's in Miami. What are your plans for the future in terms of RacquetX? I know your business does other conferences and all this, but I'm keeping it to
This is my baby right now.
this is your baby.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, this is all I think about. For
But
the
what are you gonna? How are you going to? What's your plan for it? What's the 5-year plan? So like I know nothing about running conferences and having convention centers and paying that bill. What's your 5-year plan? What's your go-to plan here?
Oh, well, we hope to be quadrillion, quadrupled in size over the next couple of years. I think we have to decide. Miami feels like the best home for us. We haven't done an edition yet, but certainly, early next year, we'll be talking about what our 2025 event looks like. And, I think we have some great partnerships in place with hopefully with the city of Miami in the coming, months, as well as the Miami Open and other folks. So I think we can really build a nice home there. I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but I mean, really for us, it's creating, whether it ends up being global or America's, like a racket week, where this is, wherever this goes, this is the time of year, or this is that space where everybody's celebrating across the industry. I mean, that's the bigger challenge for me is, I think, is it easy to move an event of these sizes from place to place every year? It is absolutely not. Are there perks to that? Absolutely.
But you're thinking of bringing it back next year. This is gonna be an annual thing.
Oh yeah, it's going to be an annual thing for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I could help it, for sure. But yeah, an annual event that is pillared around a couple of big events in the industry where we can kind of be the linchpin that helps pull it all together.
So for all our listeners out there, where can they sign up to be a consumer or a B2B person?
We're making it very easy for everyone.
Where is it? Where do we go?
The website is TheRacquetX, RACQUET for the racket, not a CK. I like to mention that, but TheRacquetX.
See, old-fashioned tradition. I like the tradition.
Yeah, well, there were a lot of reasons for that. I also didn't want to be CK, and it's like we're a racket. You could anyway.
Oh, the racket
multiple meanings
or CK,
to racket,
Calvin Klein.
spelled with the CK. Yeah. Full transparency. Last minute, I was like, I think, and I also it's a very, I think, chic way of spelling it. TheRacquetX.com. If you're not ready to sign up, although we hope you are, more information on our lineup and schedule will be released in the next week or two on the site, along with a lot of the logos and brands and partners that'll be represented there, but certainly not a final list. We're building constantly as a launch event, but at a minimum, download that white paper or the trends report that we put out. It's a great little thing to have tucked in your back pocket.
In the show notes, I'll put a link to that because I got it. It's fantastic. It really helps put in perspective the racket industry as a whole. As we talk about pickleball fighting with tennis. But this involves, I love the headline. I think it's hard to squash. I love that.
Oh, that was then a squash.
Fantastic. Yeah. Great stuff. So the RacquetX.com.
Yep.
Right.
Like the championships, TheRacquetX.com.
Exactly.
The Masters, TheRacquetX.com.
Exactly. And if anyone wants to reach out to you directly, what's the best way for them to contact you?
Email Robyn, ROBYN @TheRacquetX.com. That's by far the easiest way to get a hold of me. Or I'd say social media. Follow us on social media is also a great way to get updated. Instagram or LinkedIn is where we're pretty active right now. So either of those two.
It's LinkedIn is B2B, folks, and everything else is B2C. So
everything else. So
yeah, you got your hands full there. I really applaud you for doing what you're doing. It's a massive undertaking to start a new conference that's both B2B and B2C. I can't wait to see it. I'll be there March 24th to March 26th, South Beach, Miami Convention Center.
We got to get you in. We're going to be building a podcast studio on the floor. So for live podcasts, so we'll have to make sure that you get a space to, that this is kind of up on the screen on air, whether we can't wait. Broadcast live. But
you know what? I'll make sure I have a good hair day.
No, we're going to need you in RacquetX hat.
Okay, there. I don't need to do my hair. Thank you so much, Robyn Duda. It's been great to have you on the podcast, and good luck this coming spring.
Thank you so much. We can't wait to see you there.
Thank you.
Bye.